Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piscor.
And I'm Tom Scholey.
Going to look at Bruce Timm's Batman Adventures Mad Love, first Harley Quinn comic book appearance. Before we dive into this, want to invite everybody to like, follow, and subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube channel. Be sure and hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button. That will notify you when we post a new video and give you a leg up in the Kayfabe effect race. Whenever you see a comic on here that you want, you'll be the first ones to be able to go out hunting for that. Also, let the videos play through to the end. That helps the YouTube algorithm share our videos with other comics fans who may not have found Cartoonist Kayfabe yet. It's one of the great ways that we grow this channel, and we thank you for your help with that. But we're here to talk Bruce Timm.
Yes. Might I say, man, like, everybody go to your local Ollie's. I picked this Mad Love Deluxe Edition up for $5 on Remainder.
And it's the one we're going to look at today, everybody. This is a nice book.
Like, I would suggest, because it's a trade-off. Like, you have this Mad Love and Other Stories, which compiles, like, all the Bruce Timm stuff. The color in this is far better. Like, the color is shit in this Deluxe Edition. But it does have processed stuff. So that's the value. You got to have it for a price of $5. You scooped this up for the processed materials in the back. When we start to see that's not an egregious one. Like, how about we flip through yours, and when we get to a real particularly
follow along.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other piece I had brought along just to kind of like show off this art, because there are different ways you sort of cherish a Bruce Timm because you don't get that much Bruce Timm art, so you got to appreciate it. DC released this coloring book version, which is an oversized black and white reproduction of the line art. That's pretty nice reproductions and oversized. Like, what more do you want? So this was actually an Ollie's find for me some time ago, but love seeing the Bruce Timm art in any way possible. So I will begin flipping through, Ed, and just keep up on that book, and whenever you find a page that you think stands out, let us know.
Did you see the quote on the cover? Frank Miller saying Mad Love is the best Batman story of the decade. The same decade he made Dark Knight Strikes Again. I might have.
Wonder if he knew it was the same decade. And here you see reproduction of the cover from that special, that Mad Love special. Friend of ours pulled one of these out of a dollar bin once. Pretty nice find. Comparable in some ways to like a
bought it off another friend for $1.
Oh,
and another friend tried to pretend like it wasn't salty about it.
Do you see parallels with Deadpool with this character? I feel like they both kind of took off as being these...
Same color scheme, come out around the same time, become, like, have a huge following, huge cosplay following, too.
Yeah, and a real chaos element to what
Agent
makes...
of Chaos. That's
what I think connects them to their audience. So, start out pretty straightforward. Joker with one of his whatever plots against Commissioner Gordon.
This thing moves, man.
It does,
and it's called Mad Love. When we see the logo for Mad Love, that's totally like the Ben Oda Mad logo for the Mad comic book. Harvey Kurtzman comes up in the back matter with Bruce Timm, and this is the structure of Harvey Kurtzman panel, like 9-panel grid, 6-panel grid. Get a big splash like that. This is the idea of a splash.
I never thought of that, but Bruce Timm does draw like Harvey Kurtzman. He draws like those Harvey Kurtzman like rough drafts or whatever that he sends to the artist.
Totally.
So I think it's this story, like in the back matter, he talks about how I think there are 5 pages in here somewhere that he just blew up from the roughs because they were getting into deadline crunch. So a little bit of whiteout, he says, and keep your eyes peeled for that.
We'll take a look at the
love this
roughs.
panel, by the way. I linger for a minute just because what I caught on rereading it this week is the body language is phenomenal. Like one of the great, I assume it comes from his animation history, but it's like, you can just watch these characters bending and bouncing and stretching and emoting in their body language and postures.
Gesture is on point, but also the cinematic feel of the pace from panel to panel, and the reveals and the page turns are all considered and smartly done.
This stuff does feel like Kurtzman to me because the panels read like really fast. Like you get exactly what the point is, and not a lot extra, not a lot of unnecessary stuff.
There will be a couple moments of Kurtzman repeating rhythm in panels that'll be like really fun to check out.
It's so extreme, the expression. These characters, man, if they are excited, it's a 10. Nobody's walking around in a subtle way in this comic.
You read the Joker's voice as Mark Hamill's, right?
Yeah.
See, there's
Yeah,
that.
there's the Mad. Yeah.
And look at that super designy, quote unquote, simple Batmobile.
Colorist, Bruce Timm and Rick Taylor.
Yes.
I
This
always think
version,
that's noteworthy.
this version that I have contains the color guides from Bruce Timm.
I found this really interesting. Whenever we're seeing Harley as a college student and she's seducing her way to good grades as opposed to studying.
Oh my God, it's the patriarchy. Pretty different colors set up here.
Definitely. But it's so bold, cutting off her head and the cropping of the panels. I would never do this, without like really studying something like this and thinking about it.
Yeah, that's where the sort of cinematic stuff comes, because that's like that Dustin Hoffman like graduate movie type shit where like the seductress comes in, he sees her and then is like, dude, that's like a Jaime drawing kind of.
Totally, but this reminds me of your Kurtzman storytelling too, right? He's fixed in that position. We're zoomed in a little bit here, but it's that same like repeating almost the composition, but characters.
Yeah, it's all visual storytelling, man. D-, see me, A+.
You mentioned Jaime. I'm also thinking like Dan DeCarlo, a big Jaime influence. Yeah.
This copy has a story that Dan DeCarlo draws and Bruce Timm inks, and in the back matter he has notes on all the different stories and really praises Dan DeCarlo. So you're spot on. Probably it's certainly somebody he notes.
More Kurtzman flow right here.
And more of that expressions, like these expressions are so good, and the Joker's great for it because it's so usual to have that garish grin.
Yeah.
There's a wide range of expressions that we're going to see throughout here.
Also, at this period of time, there would like often be like repeating panels, and it would be cut and paste. But like this hand whoopee cushion would be the only piece of movement.
Now, Ed, you said yours has back matter. Does it have like the original drawing of this? Because I know this was like a censored panel.
Oh, interesting.
She says, "Hey, want to rev up your Harley?" And she's laying back on the bed with like her legs in the air, saying, "Want to rev up your Harley?" And they made him change
This
that.
is it.
There it is. Yeah. See.
Pretty minor. Like that seemed. That surprises me that that's what would be changed.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's this is ostensibly a kids comic,
And she's doing like I recognize this motion, man, from my mom's Cosmopolitan magazine gimmicks. That's to sort of please your band with the Indian rope burn hand gestures.
I'm so mad we're looking at this color version after seeing those pages of his original art.
Well, we're gonna look at those, man. Like it's the whole reason to buy the Ollie's thing. You see, it's the push pull.
It's the reason to let this video play to the end.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. So there's some interesting stuff in here too, as he's drawing like this negligee that she's wearing and how he's doing silhouette shapes with it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting drawings. That's something he talks about in the Aftermatter too. Like that. There could be no flesh tone coming through. That was one of the concessions. But I think his solution's really great, as we'll see as we keep going. I like this kind of stuff too, like put the drawing, like the crappy drawing in your panels. That's always a fun gag. But man, the body language of everybody, it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Like you get that with great animators. Like there's just no.
Like this, for the silhouette of the body underneath.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
Yeah, it's good,
stuff.
like distribution of weight and stuff.
I love this 3-panel sequence too of them coming down the stairs, and first you see Joker, and then you see like the Joker's arm is that like each person passes that static point of view.
I'm like, look at this, dude. Like, it's like the green is even meshed in with it. It's like the same sort of hue or value.
I just don't understand the let's desaturate.
Really
stuff.
stupid.
I don't understand it.
The very next page too, we got to look at that. And
Is anybody looking at this and saying that's garish?
I know.
Like she's supposed red and black. I mean, like that's the color scheme.
Like that is just such a pleasing application of color. And then this is just like, let's just vomit.
Well, yeah, you talk about there being like so many different like types of gray, cool grays, warm grays and stuff, and then like some grays are better than others and stuff.
But do we have to model the nose?
The modeling.
Get your digital airbrush out and let's make this nose look more three-dimensional.
Well, you know what it is? It's when these things are sent to be colored. I don't think there's an idea of like, oh yeah, try to make it match up with the old. It's like you're starting fresh.
It might as well take Bruce Timm's name off of this thing.
Sure, yeah.
In terms of the color.
Is there a new colorist credited?
There better be. Like I'm gonna take a look at that.
So this is her backstory. Now we get to see Harley starting at Arkham Asylum and basically falling for Joker.
There is a name. I'm not sure if the name's in there, but I just don't want to be throwing somebody on the under the bus.
Rick Taylor? That name's in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly the same credit for colorist in this one.
Yeah.
Bruce Timm in the Aftermath Matter talks about like this was one of his first comics and a big story, 64 pages, so a big story, and was intimidated by it and adopted that 9-panel grid.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I get that because like I've been playing around with like a lot of panel placement and trying to do like fun looking pages like with Red Room. That's an extra level of thought that could take 2-3 hours.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the story I'm working on right now. I've been reading a lot of Stray Bullets. Let me try to fuck with this 8-panel grid and having that circumscribed set of rule like a template. That now you think like you have this one moment, you have 8 images. Like what are the best images? It's a different exercise.
Yeah.
But it does cut down on that time.
It's also very flexible. We see him doing those 2/3 page splashes, 1/3 page splash. I'm not even sure 4/9 page splash. So there is flexibility that he uses in this too for impact, for storytelling. Big panel whenever they actually first have their first psychiatric encounter.
It's such good comedy too because eventually we're going to get to that page where she's talking and she's on the couch.
Yes. I love this where the Joker suddenly springs from his bed up to to her attention, and she's leaning back in the panel before where it's like your panel gutter is what's separating them, not just the glass in between them. Again, with the just using the body language to its fullest. Joker telling an entertaining anecdote about his past, and you can see him pantomiming it out as he's telling it, like just putting on a show.
Yeah.
Might as well be a stand-up comic.
Not far from what's done in that Heath Ledger
Yes,
kind
exactly.
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
They sort of took that part. Want to know how I got these scars? Like, it's kind of that.
You have to imagine if you're going to make a gigantic Batman Joker movie, you're looking at all the best
Reading
material you
everything,
can
yeah.
find. And when Frank Miller says this is the best Batman comic of the decade, it has to be part of your reading list.
This has become sort of like a central text of Batman,
You know what's really cool also about this old color on this older version is that the title cards of the Batman animated show would have a little of this kind of airbrush, so it's kind of keeping with that motif. It would have this dry brush application and real Art Deco kind of flavor.
A Joker origin that breaks up. Now we have an 8/9 splash page. And there you go, Ed. Your moment of switching position. And I like whenever they decide if they're going to throw in a big panel, do that in the middle of the page. I think that makes a pleasing page and a lot of impact there.
This is like that Frank Miller thing of putting the blood on the color layer.
Yeah.
Cartoonist Kayfabe is brought to you by the comic books that Ed Piskor and I make. Available now in your local comic shops or online wherever you buy comics and books is Red Room, Murder on the Dark Web for Fun and Profit. Season 1, Antisocial Network, available as a collected trade paperback. Season 2, Trigger Warnings. Issue 1 is now out. Issue 2 coming soon, if not already out whenever you see this video. Banned in 26 countries, banned in 7 comic shops, but they can still order them for you, so be sure and ask for it by name. And the rest of Ed's bibliography available still in print. WYSIWYG, Portrait of a Serial Hacker. X-Men Grand Design, 3 oversized Treasury volumes of that. And Hip Hop Family Tree, 4 oversized Treasury volumes of that, as well as 2 box sets.
But what do you have, Jimmy?
And coming to comic shops in March and April, Hulk Grand Design, a reimagining of the 60-year history of the Incredible Hulk, over 500 comic books, over 10,000 pages condensed into 2 oversized issues, telling the complete story of the Incredible Hulk, and available in several beautiful eye-catching covers. Marcos Martin, Peach Momoko, and Cartoonist Kayfabe's own Ed Piskor. And coming in April, Hulk Grand Design Madness, covers by me, Ed McGuinness, and Jeff Darrow. Also available in comic shops and booksellers, Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive from Image Comics, a homeless ninja on a skateboard, and The Plain Janes with writer Cecil Castellucci, possibly the first young adult graphic novel here in America. And now back to our regular scheduled programming. Good use of a right-hand splash page, too. Big moment. And man, It says it all, right? This is Harley Quinn's birth right here.
Right, man. Here's the Kurtzman rhythm coming and going.
I mean, that looks like, issue
And I
1
think
of
there's
Mad,
a-
that like haunted house story.
You're right.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was another going to come out of there, but I guess not. But like silent.
there's
This is,
this.
by the way, this is a wordless 2-page spread.
Yeah.
Like that's your masterful cartooning as well, because a lot happens. This isn't somebody sitting there with her head in her hands, feeling bad. This is a lot of action, different locations coming and going, character, costume. Like a lot happens and no words necessary. And then bam, there's a big splash page. Using your splashes for impact.
That other, like, talking about the comparison to Deadpool is also, like, being, like, the comedic, like, Warner Brothers element in a superhero story.
Yeah, like a slapstick comedy. Yeah, I agree. This is a piece that, in the back matter, he says they cut short. There was, like, another scene, or a longer scene. And it's funny because, to me, this is genius, the way they cut, right from her plans to, like, okay, Batman on the scene. It seems so much better than whatever else I can imagine you would have done there, like inserting some henchmen and him kind of building to that point. And this is Harley having second thoughts, selling out her man Joker, but wants to meet with Batman to hand over the evidence.
This is like that Bernie Wrightson
Pose.
Yeah, from the Swamp Thing issue, yeah.
Like,
It's funny to see these because it just reminds me so much of Dark Knight.
absolutely. And like Bruce Timm is a master of knowing what you need to get in there to communicate what everything is. You break it down to line, like there's not much line going on, and it's very bold lines, but it sells everything.
This whole panel we could probably do an episode on.
Yeah.
Because what is there? There's one ship that shows us this is like the harbor where trade is coming in and out of Gotham. You've got the moon reflecting on the water that allows you to do Batman's head as the silhouette on top of it, and the bait shop sign, which is literally what this is, right? Like she's baited him into this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
In one panel. You wonder how much of that stuff is just intuition and how much of it is careful planning on anybody's part. Because of the way he describes like cutting certain sequences and pages and stuff out, it makes me also wonder like what's Paul Dini's script look like? Are they just like, are they Marvel methoding this stuff? Like what exactly is going on? Because it seems like Bruce Timm puts a lot of himself in the breakdowns here.
Well, I know there's like that demon story that's later on in this.
Yeah.
That he says was like Marvel method.
This is fun. So this is when Harley actually pulls her trick on Batman and double crosses him. But first we see what looks like the Joker. Batman tries to protect her and gets a needle in the back of the neck. And she's won, man. Next time we see Batman awake, strung up above a tank of piranhas. Unsmiling piranhas. The whole reason Joker can't use this death trap sequence.
Can't figure out how to get them to smile.
This feels like an image I've seen somewhere. Is this a famous... Do you guys recognize that as iconic? The Batman upside down like that?
No, maybe it showed up in a Wizard that you looked at a million times as a kid or something.
I'm thinking right now it's Joe Kubert and Batman Black and White, which wouldn't make it iconic, but...
Yeah, he does a version of that.
And also, like, the more I see him hanging upside down, it makes me think, like, I bet you there's quite a few...
Well, I mean, the
moments
idea of
him
like a
upside down.
Batman hanging upside down like
course.
a bat is, yeah.
So, pretty much, Harley's got him, dead to rights here, and Batman starts working on her about the Joker. That story, he's told that story so many times to so many people. He doesn't love anybody, maybe himself. And she just can't stand it. So she decides, you know what? If I'm going to kill Batman, Joker's got to see it. He doesn't even have his utility belt. Like, she really does have him. Like, she did it.
And that's the punchline at the end. Like she would have won. She could have won if he didn't get inside of her head. Use a little Ric Flair psychology.
And again, speaking of, like, how far can you cartoon one of these faces? Like, doesn't Bruce Timm see this and get kind of mad? Like, you're drawing on my artwork.
Does. Yeah, I'm sure he does. But I'm sure it's like, throw your hands up. Let me focus on
He's
what
on
I
to
can
other
control.
things, yeah.
Like even the color choice of like this back right here, like look how much this pops.
Yeah, it's got color to it.
And
I just don't understand it. It is like, hey, let's really try to make this all the same value. We just blend it all together.
it confuses me. The administration just really doesn't give a fuck. Like that's what it ultimately boils down to.
But you would even think that would mean just reprint it. You know, like somebody's making an effort to literally make it look worse.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis is presiding over their
It's
wedding.
so good. That's like that Jerry Lewis from the comics, from the DC comics.
It's funny too, like dreaming of like growing old with the Joker.
That really kind of works.
It works great. It's very funny. It's funny. It looks right. Like both of them look kind of right as old. Yeah. This would be the old version of the characters. Her innocent look of like, yeah. And things do not go well. I like Batman's ears just barely in the water. Joker's furious, man. This has been eating at him, the idea that it's going to be his girlfriend's going to be known as the one who killed Batman. He imagines like the other villains giving him a hard time. Mr. Harley Quinn.
Right.
He hits her with the Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns.
This is like the end of Die Hard, when that guy's like falling out of the...
You know what? This doesn't...
The Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
It doesn't sell for me as well as I want it to.
No.
You push out more.
You do, or... I don't know, man. Rotate at 180 or something. Like she's still very stable, even though like once you see that background, then it reads. But I don't know, something there. Yeah, maybe if you push out where her arms aren't tethered to something.
You see the example, like the Watchmen example and stuff, and that's the difference. Whatever Dave Gibbons does in that composition.
Pretty brutal too. You know,
yeah,
like,
straight up.
Like several. I once heard window washers in New York said it's 4 stories. You fall 4 stories is death, and that's 5 there. So pretty tough. And Joker helps his real love down. That's what Batman should have been telling Harley.
I mean, that's Kama Sutra. You know, that's that shibari Japanese bondage shit right there.
I was surprised by this moment. Joker thinks about all of this and then realizes like, yeah, I can kill you here, and goes for it, right? Like pulls the trigger.
Yeah, he pulls the trigger, right.
I was kind of surprised by that.
It was one of those things, like, when they put forth, like, let's do a Batman comic, the creatives involved were like, we gotta have guns, and we gotta have we have to figure that part out. We can't be super friends anymore, knocking spiders off the table and having to make sure that they're okay in the end.
Great silhouettes. I love those.
Yeah.
And it's this is like whenever you learn to draw, and it would be like have an arch in your character's form, and it's one way and then the other way.
Well, yeah, and that's very much the Kurtzman rubber people.
Mm-hmm. Things like this, like Joker running and then doing that super squat that he's about to jump off the building with, the foreshortening of Batman racing up the stairs. It's so dynamic. Amazing silhouette leaping off the building.
Yeah, and just beautiful, like, clearly train tracks, clearly a giant Otomo-like skyscraper, but he did it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, this is one of those comics, too, like we talk a lot about lately, line density and stuff. There's no line density here. Like, you know, everything is here, but it's all almost like the substance of, you know, the character drawings, the perspectives, like, it's the substance. It's like all substance.
Yeah, are you showing off a bunch of pictures, or are you telling a story? And that's the question you have to ask yourself.
This is your classic move. That's a classic wrestling
the
move.
Box.
Box
Box
your ears.
This is an iconic piece that I think I actually did recognize as like the only image that I saw from Mad Love in Wizard magazine for a number of years.
Yeah, beautiful composition. This is one that I always see that I think's amazing. That Batman is just about as powerful as I can imagine drawing a punch look.
And the context is what really does it, because you do have like the Watchmen grid for so long, and then you get the big punch. Also, I'm thinking this is another one of Bruce Timm's Kirby swipes. This looks like the Fantastic Four issue where the Thing is like becomes like a gladiator on another planet and fights this like punches this robot guy.
And you can't help but think of Batman 66 with the sound effect. You know, you need one of those in here. It's kind of like they're playing the hits. You have your TV screens for Dark Knight Returns. You have your Batman Adam West moment right here.
So to me,
This is the movie.
This is Joker falling. That really looks like to me he's falling.
Exactly.
Like he's free falling. And
Yeah,
I look at
because
this
he's
and I wonder
completely-
why. And
yeah.
it could be, he's windmilling arms and legs.
I think the crop, the crop.
Yeah, I think the crop hurts.
The crop takes away flying. Like if you have a flying figure and you crop them, it doesn't feel like flying. This is an anchor of sorts.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But I don't know that he didn't want that. Like in with Harley Quinn, because it's kind of like you're seeing her like almost like standing, but she's clearly not. And then you.
Something
the
about
chaos
this
right
image does make it sort of slow down and freeze. So I don't know if maybe some of those things that don't sell it as much actually do help you sort of slow down.
Yeah, it could be. He's a little bit askew too, which helps. She's
Yeah, his
very
hips,
vertical.
Yeah. Also, like just in terms of staging, you'd want to save your really big fall for later. You'd want to have like a minor.
If you're gonna
fall,
have two,
yeah.
like the last one has to be the biggie for sure.
But she does survive. This is her now in Arkham, and the rumors are Joker's gone. He fell into that whatever that chimney was. But whenever she looks up, there's a rose sitting there with a note from Jay.
So the commentaries are the same, probably based on a true story, all that stuff. But this is the Ollie's version that you could get right now. And Jimmy, if you want to just like kind of
Oh, I do.
Swap them out.
Yes, I do.
cruise through this, you could see you learn a lot of stuff. He's using blue like an animator, using non-photo repro blue. I believe in some earlier stuff we read that he will do these drawings on 8.5 by 11 paper. I would say just keep rocking unless you have something specific.
Well, I like how much this blue line's built up because you can see in other places he probably could have done Batman left-handed with his eyes closed at this point, but you see like getting that shape exactly right. This is what you see white out sometimes, like in a Jaime artist edition, where it's like that line he's moved it 1/16 of an inch, but that's the thing.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of choices, and Jaime is the exact guy I was going to mention. You see a lot of choices. You see maybe 2 white outlines. You see many other pencil lines, and then the one that he finally chooses. So it's like he did now Bruce Timm didn't he arrived at it with one swoop, but with like a lot of build up with the pencil. But like seeing Jaime do a couple and then go back, that's a very liberating thing to see.
Man, I love these.
You could see he created a template for himself of the 9-panel grid so that part of his life is taken care of. Like he doesn't have to rule out 9-panel grids all the time and have.
These are his roughs.
Yeah, I was going
right?
to say, are these the roughs?
These are his roughs.
Okay, yeah.
They're so detailed.
close to the finished thing.
He showed these off before with his Batman Black and White. You know what? It's in the commentary in Batman Black and White where he does it in like a fully inked thing, and then he blows it up in like light boxes. So I think his final pages are probably devoid of pencil and just like inked through a light box or something.
It's neat to see him this size because it reminds me of the Dave Gibbons Watchmen roughs, from Watching the Watchmen.
Yeah.
What is that? Whatever that Watchmen process book is, and you can see how there is a little extra layer of detail. Like these are clearly done a little bigger than something like Dave Gibbons layouts.
Yeah.
Because that level of detail is just slightly more.
Yeah, and I mean he could get his lettering in there.
Yeah, completely detailed, all of this stuff. Looks amazing in black and white. That's the other thing I think a lot of original art these days, so much is left for the coloring that you don't get that strong black and white image whenever you strip it of the colors.
Right.
These are so fun.
Yeah, just another one of those things though, like, DC, that you could have published each of these on a page. Like, just double it up or triple it up.
Hey man, I got no complaints, especially if I find this thing on the way home today at Ollie's for
$5.
$5.
Before the video goes live and everybody goes
That's
to all
right.
the Ollies.
It's nice that they do some that are full size, because it is nice to see them. And I wonder if it's noted anywhere if this is actual size, because I think that 8.5 by 11 sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's not the 11 by 17 that we think of as comic book art, but it's big enough that, you can see it's very clear. Wow. Boy, they look good like this. I mean, that looks like publishable art.
Yeah, and so we're getting to the place where some of this stuff might be. You said a little whiteout or something. But you see how it's all in here.
I'm kind of shocked by this amount of detail.
This feels like Kurtzman.
This really does. Like, the marks themselves look
Yeah.
like marks that I've seen in some of the Kurtzman stuff. I mean, that's tight.
Oh yeah.
Even the lettering looks like it's pretty close.
But that's the stuff I love too about cartoonists, because like, you know, he then goes in again and then
Does it
does
again.
one level of tightening further, and then this is his color guides, and he's explaining stuff like use a darker gray on the white face. It makes the white of the white like feel whiter.
Yeah.
If you use a dark gray.
Yeah, this is contrast. This is something I can remember doing charcoal drawings in college. And the ones, like, I'd be looking around like, why is that person's better? And it's because they went for that full range of contrast where it's like there was black on that page, there was white, you know, and the other people would be sort of like 75 to 25% grays.
Right. There's parts where he missed a X ink spot that should have been filled in, and he'll let the colorist know, like, and then he'll draw another version, like he'll draw a version of the same panel and show you exactly what he means.
So detailed, you know, like this is not supposed to have the brush strokes. That's just the marker effect, so make that a smooth gradient. See, that's the thing. Somebody with that detail, it doesn't seem like they'd be happy with some of the recoloring
I
choices
know,
in
man.
this
Like
book.
it's so stupid. I have no idea why they do it, but some dweeb decided that that's the way to go.
If you can do gritty texture, put it on here. Awesome.
He's a master with
You know
that
what's funny?
Prismacolor marker.
He is.
So you get to this page, and the red's very saturated, but that green that we were pointing out is like they desaturate. It's very desaturated here. You know,
Yeah,
like
you know,
it is mud and dirt
this
here.
does look closer to
This
the
version.
recolored version than. So I mean, maybe he gave the big stamp of approval to the
Yeah, because
recolor.
look at how modeled. I mean, that's almost
Yeah.
painted the way he's handling like her leg. I don't know.
I mean, you know, like
We're tough to please.
the in Killing Joke. I mean, all those changes were from the artist.
Yeah, right.
He was, you know.
Same with Flex Metallo. Boy, the grays look so good. I often admire, like, I'll see people do gray, you know, like a marker sketch
Yeah.
or whatever, and maybe have like one or two grays on it.
Isn't
You
it-
can work magic with that.
I mean, isn't it funny? Like, I guess just a sign of the times. Like, you really maybe you couldn't do. You had to run it through some separator in like 1999 or whenever this was. But this is perfectly publishable.
Phone still on the hook, and the bottom three panels must fix this. And if any 20-year-olds are watching this, they're like, what? What are
What
you
is that
talking
thing?
about? There's a lot of this. Draw in bottom red lip. There's a lot of that throughout where like the coloring is doing the lip
serpent kind of
colors on
call out.
That was like a decision they made as the show evolved. They went into like another season, and the Joker stopped having red lips.
And he had black eyes too. Like when Kevin Nolan comes in and starts redesigning characters and stuff, the Scarecrow looks scarier. Joker looks different. It's not this Joker. It's not really
Yeah.
the Bruce Timm Joker. It becomes like a Kevin O'Neill Joker.
This is the note you put on the last page of your big project.
Yeah, the way it was described to me was, you know, he's doing his full duties at Warner Brothers with the animation, with the cartoon, and just using whatever free time he had, like on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he for his bottom line, he never needed to do a comic, but like he loves comics. We love comics, you know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of evidence throughout comics history. Like he has a lot of fan art in Amazing Heroes and the Comics Journal in like late 70s, early 80s. I think he might have done a He-Man or two.
Oh yeah, I have
for
a
the
bunch of his
mini-comics.
He-Mans. Yeah,
You'll see his name pop up as colorist in a lot of early credits.
Oh, interesting.
yeah, he's an inker. You know,
Yeah, I wish I could think of some of them off the top of my head, and I can't. But I know, like, just from the comics that I dig through dollar bins and stuff, it'll often surprise me to see Bruce Timm colorist. You know, yeah, definitely a guy who's into comics, even though it seems like career-wise it's a different direction. But cool whenever he dips in.
So run to your local Ollie's, man. This might be completely gone, but last time I went, there were dozens and dozens of these things for $5. Very much worth having.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deal.
a note here. Like, I like the way the cheek is folding. That's an interesting detail.
Yeah, you don't see that drawn
Yeah.
so well, man. But listen, hit your Ollies up. Go get your Mad Love Deluxe Edition for those rough pages. Like, if you have it in some other format, it's worth having for the process materials of Bruce Timm.
It'd be worth it if it were just those rough page layouts.
1000%. I mean, that's what it is. If you have the superior
right.
versions, that is what it is, man. Are you guys good to go?
Yep.
Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell. We'll notify you when new vids are available. It's out there, Jim.
Hulk Grand Design Monster #1, a retelling of the 60-year history of the Incredible Hulk through my through my eyes, and 2 oversized issues starting in March and continuing in April. Pick those up wherever you buy comic books. You can also join me on patreon.com/JimRugg, where you can download some of my out-of-print zines and mini comics. You can see a bunch of my original art and how I make the comics I make.
Red Room Trigger Warnings issue #1 is on the stands now, so that means it's coming out on a monthly basis for 4 issues total. You can get these comics at your local comic shop. Murder on the Dark Web for Fun and Profit is the name of the game in Red Room Comics. Every issue is completely self-contained, banned in 26 countries, banned in 7 comic shops. But if you ask for it, they're going to get you that comic. They want your money. They need your money. You can read the comics before they hit paper at my Patreon. Thanks to everybody who supported the Patreon this past week. Hit up patreon.com/EdPiscor, $3 for the archive there. More than 200 pages are up there as we speak, and you can get to these links in my link tree in the description below this video. Tom.
Check out Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. Fantastic Four Grand Design. Watch my YouTube channel, Total Recall Show, and go to my Patreon, patreon.com, search Tom Scholey.
What else do we have out there, Jimmy?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merchandise at the links below this video.
Had another spike in sales on Cartoonist Kayfabe merch this past week. Got to thank the Kayfabe audience for the support, because it is a great way to support the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel. Keep the lights going on. Jimmy, give them the marching orders. We're going to be on our way.
Read more comics.